For more than 20 years, one company has basically owned the internet's front door: Google. But what if that whole way of finding things online is, well, broken? Today, we're diving into Perplexity, a startup with a completely different idea about how we get answers, and they are not afraid to take on the biggest player in the game. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you Googled something and just felt frustrated? You know what I'm talking about. You're just wading through a sea of sponsored links, SEO spam, and honestly just junk. And hey, it's not just in your head. A recent study actually confirmed that, yep, search results really are getting worse. Perplexity is betting everything on the idea that this shared frustration is the one tiny crack in the armor of a tech giant.
So, what's the big game-changing idea here? It's really simple. A shift in who does all the work. With traditional search, you get that list of blue links. And then it's on you. You have to click, read, compare, and basically hunt for the answer yourself. Perplexity flips that completely. It calls itself an answer engine, and its job is to do that work for you, delivering one single synthesized answer with all the sources right there.
All right, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll define what this answer engine really is. Then, we'll pop the hood and see how it works. After that, we'll get into the massive battle for search. Talk about Perplexity's vision for an agentic future, look at the very real risks it faces, and finally, ask what this all means for the future of knowledge itself.
Okay, first up, the answer engine. And I really want to stress, this isn't just some small update to search. It's a fundamental reimagining. The whole point is to change the internet from a messy library you have to dig through into a service that just gives you a straight, understandable answer. And it's all built around this very clear mission: to serve the world's curiosity. The keywords there are accurate and sourced. In an era where AI is known for just making stuff up, Perplexity is staking its entire reputation on transparency. You're not just supposed to trust the answer. They give you the receipts to prove where it came from. Which brings us to our next section, under the hood. So how in the world do they actually pull that off? Let's take a look at the technology and, of course, the business model that makes this whole thing run.
The secret sauce here is a technology called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. Now, this is what makes it so different from a standard chatbot. A normal chatbot might just pull an answer out of thin air, what we call a hallucination. But RAG is a two-step process. First, it retrieves up-to-date relevant info from the live web. Then, and only then, does it use a powerful AI to generate an answer based on those facts. That first step, the retrieval, is what keeps the whole thing grounded in reality.
So here's what it looks like from your end. You ask a question. Immediately, Perplexity's own web crawlers go out and find the best, most current sources online. Then, it feeds that information to a top-tier large language model that could be its in-house model, Sonar, or others like GPT-4o or Claude 3.5. That model then puts it all together into one clear, concise, and, most importantly, fully cited answer.
Okay, so how does a company like this actually plan to make money? Well, it's a playbook you've probably seen before, the freemium model. You can get started for free, right? They give you a little taste, about 5 of what they call pro searches a day. But if you really want to unleash its full power, and I mean over 600 pro searches every single day, access to the absolute best AI models out there, plus the ability to upload your own files for analysis, well, that's where the subscription comes in, starting at $20 a month.
And get this, who's actually using it? The answer might surprise you. You'd think a Silicon Valley startup would have most of its users in the US, right? Nope, it's not even close. Indonesia and India together make up almost half of all its traffic. That's a huge sign that there's a massive global hunger for a new way to get information.
And that global reach brings us right to the main event, Section 3, the battle for search. I mean, this is a true David versus Goliath showdown. You've got this small startup going head-to-head with some of the biggest, most powerful companies on the planet.
Now, the competition is absolutely brutal. If you look at the dedicated AI chatbot market, Perplexity is holding its own as a solid number 2. But it's still completely dwarfed by ChatGPT's enormous lead. And this chart doesn't even factor in the 800-pound gorilla in the room, Google itself. So you have to ask, how can a tiny startup even hope to compete?
Well, according to its CEO, Aravinda Srinivas, Google's greatest strength is also its greatest weakness, its business model. He puts it pretty bluntly. He says it's not in Google's financial interest to give you a perfect answer. Think about it. Google's entire empire is built on selling ads and clicks in that list of links. A single, perfect answer? That would kill their golden goose.
And Srinivas argues this is exactly why Google's attempts to copy Perplexity always feel a bit off. You know, they'll get on stage at a big conference, announce some new AI feature with a fancy new name, but the core experience, that page of 10 blue links, it never really changes, because messing with that formula is just too big a risk to their bottom line.
But here's the thing. Perplexity isn't just trying to win the search war of today. It's already playing for what's next. And that brings us to Section 4, the agentic future. This is where their ambition goes way, way beyond just being a better Google. They're actively building a completely new browser, and its codename is Comet. But the goal isn't just to be another version of Chrome or Safari. The vision here is to create what the CEO calls a cognitive operating system. Basically, an AI assistant that lives right inside your browser and can actually do things for you.
So what does that actually look like? Well, imagine telling your browser to perform complex multi-step tasks. Things like go through this entire spreadsheet of event applicants, find only the ones who know Python and live in California, and send them a confirmation email. Or even, hey, pay my Visa bill automatically every month. It's about turning your browser from a passive window for viewing the web into an active agent that works for you.
Now, of course, a vision that big is going to have some equally big hurdles to clear. And that leads us to Section 5, risks and roadblocks.
The most immediate and frankly terrifying threat is legal. When your whole business is based on summarizing content from across the web, you're walking into a minefield of copyright law. Publishers like News Corp are suing, and the potential price tag is just staggering. We're talking up to $150,000 for each and every article they're found to have infringed on. This is a truly existential threat.
And you can see how this situation has gotten more and more intense. First, it was accusations of scraping from places like Forbes. Then came the actual lawsuits from media giants. Perplexity's strategy has been to try and make friends, striking revenue-sharing deals with some publishers. But that core conflict, how do you ethically and legally use other people's content? That's far from being solved.
The second huge risk is their own business model. Let's say they survive the lawsuits. Can they actually make enough money to be a huge company? They're trying out some ads, but think about it. Their whole product is designed to stop you from clicking on links. And clicks are the fuel for the entire digital ad economy. It's a fundamental contradiction, and they haven't figured it out yet.
All these huge unanswered questions bring us to our final section, the future of knowing. Because honestly, whether Perplexity wins or loses, the change it represents is so much bigger than just one company. It's about a fundamental shift in our relationship with information itself.
Like the CEO says, when you're a startup fighting a giant, your only real weapon is speed. You just have to innovate and ship new things faster than everyone else. Because you know the big guys have all the money and resources, but they're slow. They're held back by their own success. But this incredible race for speed, for the perfect answer, leaves us with one last really deep question. We started this whole conversation with the frustration of getting bad search results. But what happens if we get the perfect answer every single time? If an AI does all the hard work of finding, reading, and synthesizing for us, do we lose the skill of thinking critically for ourselves? Does the quest for the perfect answer make us forget the art of asking the right questions in the first place?